Ooh, I let it go longer. I let it go to the vocals this time, Ryan.
I
That's
like it.
pretty exciting. I know I've said this before, but that is the guest that found that often to be the highlight of the show. The fate of Bill Up Buttercup. We'll see if we can do that one better today. But yeah, well, thanks for coming. We'll introduce you in a second. Obviously, you need no introduction, but this is Scary Alvarez Skull Session in advance of the Ohio State Buckeyes Badgers game coming up this Saturday evening, 6 o'clock, I believe that kicks off. And I'm really excited to welcome Locked On Badgers Ryan Harings. Welcome aboard, man. How you doing today? Having a good day?
So I don't know if we want to rehash what we talked about pregame, but I am mostly having a good day. I love coming on listen. I love coming on with Scary and this podcast. So I'm here for it. I have had a weird day. I will say that I'm a little frazzled.
Yes.
I might make for good listening too. So we'll see.
Well, good stuff. Yeah. Anytime. I mean, you're edgy like an '80s action star normally, Ryan. So we're gonna turn that volume up a little bit. It's gonna be wild, man. Get out of the way. But as I alluded to, so we're gonna talk Badgers Buckeyes, and it's gonna be a quick one. It's gonna be a quick hitter tonight. Um, but I'm excited to mix it up with you on this, and I'm going to turn over to you right away, and just kind of those are the people that are watching and haven't seen it on Lockdown already. Kind of give us your quick impressions of this matchup on Saturday and what you're thinking right now.
Yeah, I mean, this is a game that I've kind of had chalked up as a loss for a while. I'm at the point, Scary, and I talked about this in the offseason. I need to see us beat Ohio State before I predict it, but this is the best circumstance you can get them in, right? You got a first-year quarterback at Ohio State. They're coming off a tough physical game against Penn State. We get them at home in Madison at night. And so many of the recent Wisconsin and Ohio State, I've talked about this on the show, Wisconsin Ohio State matchups that, quite frankly, at times we've been outmatched in. They've been in Indianapolis. They've been in Columbus. So Madison's an equalizer. To what degree, we're going to find out. But there's no better scenario for Wisconsin than how this is kind of lined up this year, right? And am I confident that we'll keep it close? I am. I do think that this will be a close, good game. I still think Ohio State is just more talented across the board. So I mean, I think that's going to give you a hint of where my prediction is, but I'm excited for it. And this is as good of a situation and a setup for a Wisconsin Ohio State game as we've had in several years.
Yeah, I agree, and yeah, they're more talented across the board, and that more talented across the board appears to be getting a little bump with Denzel Burke, Ibuka, Henderson. Their number one running back by a wide margin. Their NFL caliber, probably first round draft pick caliber corners coming back, and another. He's not as good as Harrison Jr., but Ibuka is a real talented receiver. Yeah, it's nice of them to save those guys up for Wisconsin, not playing against Penn State.
Mm-hmm.
Um, hey, maybe that's a backhanded compliment to the Badgers that they needed him back for the Badger game, but that's not ideal. But no, I hear what you're saying. I do think I will echo a lot of those thoughts, and I hate to harken on one player, but the 2022 Ohio State Buckeyes had a cat named C.J. Stroud. I know you're familiar with him. He's doing some good stuff already for the Houston Texans in the NFL. He's a very high draft pick. Absolute superstar. By all accounts, a great kid too. And watching him go against the Badgers was really really difficult to experience. It was like a men among boys. I mean, as much as I love some of those defenses under Leonard, it just wasn't fair to watch. Going from C.J. Stroud to Kyle McCord, that is a monumental drop off at that position. That does not mean Ohio State is not talented and loaded on other positions, but that offense is not what it was, as you well know, even as recently as 2022. That is a huge reason why I'm foreshadowing here. It's informing what I'm going to say my prediction is in this game, but that is a big freaking deal. Does that mean they can't put up points? I said this before, having Colin McCord doesn't mean they're a below average offense. They're still a good offense, incredibly talented, loaded with 4 and 5 stars. They can move the ball. They put up, I think, 50 points in a couple games this year. They can do it, but it ain't CJ Stroud's offense. Okay. That's a big deal. And then the defense, okay. So they're really good. Here we are. I mean, the Buckeyes defense is great. But I'm again, I'm trying to tease this a little bit, but let me say this, right? you've teased that it's going to be close. How does Wisconsin keep the game close?
I think it's a couple things. Ohio State's offensive line is not a strength. That we're used to a prototypical Ohio State offensive line where there's a tackle that's going to be a first or second, third round pick. They're strong across the board. They have depth. It's not a strength this year. And Kyle McCord, we've ran into so many Buckeye buzzsaws at quarterback that JT Barrett, the guys that are just really athletic and are difficult to deal with. Fields is another one. McCord's not that, right? So you add a mediocre Buckeyes offensive line with a quarterback that's not as mobile. I think, and a first-year quarterback, by the way, who struggled at times in a game against Maryland, who struggled at times in a game against Notre Dame when some of that pressure ratcheted up. I think that's the key, right? You get some pressure on McCord with an offensive line that isn't very good, and then Camp Randall comes alive. Like, here's the thing: you have to have a good start. This cannot be a game where the Badgers come out and we have that prototypical, which we've done a lot this year, get in a hole. Because if you get in a hole against Ohio State, the crowd goes quiet, and then that atmosphere is gone. But if you get the crowd going, you get McCord sped up a little bit. That offensive line has trouble holding up. I think that's the recipe, right? So
Yeah, like a Chimdike kickoff. Yeah, Chimdike kickoff return.
Oh my gosh, that'd be incredible. But you can't start slow, Scary. You cannot start slow in this game and stay in it, in my opinion.
Yeah, no, that's well said. And again, I'm teasing what I'm going to predict here, but I do think this is going to be a low scoring game. It's going to look nothing like the 2020 was it 21 or 22? The years all keep fading into my memory, but it was the game we got blown out. It was like 49-20 in Ohio Stadium that last year. Yeah, not great.
Yeah,
not great.
Not great at all.
Okay. So let me get into the mindset of the Buckeyes right now. Not to say that they don't care about Wisconsin. They know this is a big game. They obviously know they want to win the Big Ten East and play in that championship game, get to the college football playoff. Obviously, that's every season for them. That's where their head is. But you just won a massive, closely fought, intense game against a Big Ten East rival, Penn State. You're watching the news about how Jim Harbaugh is doing like spy shit and punking your team last year in a game that you got embarrassed in your own home stadium. That has been in the minds of your fans ever since. And you find out that Harbaugh's been cheating and looking, it's really like penny ante stuff. It's real dime store crook stuff. But the fact is, and the facts are still coming out. So I'm not going to say anything definitive. It's not a great look, though. It's not a great look for Michigan that they were doing that. And these videos coming out from the Ohio State game last year, we have this kid that Harbaugh claims doesn't know who the guy is standing by the OC. Then he's standing by the DC, and they're talking, and he has a little thing he's checking off stuff. It wasn't the picture they said was him. That was a different picture, but it's a terrible look and a huge distraction. And Michigan really might be the dirtiest program in the Big Ten, which is just, fuck them. There it is. So anyway, getting back to my point, you got Ohio State, and you're mad about that. And you just had the big win, and now you got a road game in Madison, a team you've been kind of punking and handling with no problem for 13 years. Just owning them in every sense of the word. Night game, some of the things you said, night game, hyped up crowd. You got a kid starting to feel comfortable at quarterback in lock. Here it is. I've been building this up. This isn't going to be a long one, Ryan, but I know I did this preseason with a different set of circumstances. I'm calling a Wisconsin Badgers victory over the Ohio State Buckeyes this Saturday night in Camp Randall Stadium in a very closely contested, very closely fought game. We just edge them out. There it is. Badgers going to win.
I love it. Like, I absolutely love it. We're going to be at the game. I'm going to be screaming my ass off. I will be on cloud 9. I just don't see it. Here's the thing. I think everything you said is very true. I think you make an incredibly good point about coming off the Penn State game, seeing chaos at your rival. Wisconsin has not been a rival to them on the field. Like, they've handled Wisconsin, except I think playing at night in Madison runs counter to all of that. If this was a 11 a.m. kick, I think Ohio State has a much greater chance of coming out and sleepwalking. I think coming in at night, more of a primetime environment, the crowd is going to be there. those things just get athletes' juices kind of flowing no matter what. I think that
Yeah.
that probably hurts the chance of a kind of a letdown week right after the Penn State game. I don't know if you agree with that or not. I think that gets them more amped up. And the other concern I have, and this is how I feel with every Ohio State game, and this is some I've said this. This is some just Ohio State PTSD I carry inside me at this point. Playing Ohio State feels like you've built this rickety dam, right? And water just kind of keeps running up against it, and you keep just patching it in places. But eventually, against our secondary and our defense, it just springs a leak. And can we keep Ohio State from punching through that dam for 60 minutes, right? And we just haven't been able to do it. They can always, at some point, even in the close games, they find a way to get one of their 5-star receivers on our backup safety, and they just can create mismatches that we have a hard time countering. And it's going to be tough in year one of Fickle to counter that. So something that I acknowledge is just PTSD, and maybe this year is different. I hope and pray it is. I think it's going to be close. I just still think there's going to be a key moment in the game in a third quarter spot. They're going to isolate Marvin Harrison Jr. on somebody, and it's going to be lights out.
Well, that's all. Completely irrational. The points you are making, I don't think it's PTSD at all, Ryan. I think you're being rational. I am Frank the Tank in old school, streaking alone. Come on, everybody, we're going streaking. And I'm picking the Badgers to beat the Buckeyes. And I am not expecting there to be too many people there with me. And my wife's going to pull up in the minivan with her friends and I have to get in. But, Cindy wouldn't do that to me. Cindy believes. Cindy believes. Cindy also knows that the Badgers are going to be the Buckeyes. But I hear you, man. I mean, I have a little bit of that too. But some things people forget also is that there's a little bit of an X factor on the sidelines coaching the Wisconsin Badgers this week. And I'm not saying that Luke Fickell knows the playbook like he's Jim Harbaugh or something. Knows the Buckeye playbook like he's Harbaugh. I'm just saying that as a part of that culture, and he did coach under Urban Meyer, obviously, and they kind of cross paths a little later, that sort of thing. But there's a little extra juice in for him too. And I don't think it's a bad thing. I think it's a good thing. And so I'm not even going to predict how it's going to go. I might write something for Bucky's Fifth where I have to go and say the Badgers win if blah, blah, blah. And I'll get into it more specifically. I'm just telling you, this team is going to find a way and they're going to squeak it out. And that is going to be one of the best. Just think on a cold, just a boring Saturday night in Madison, Wisconsin, where nothing's ever going on. Just kidding. But this is going to be a special one. And the game's going to cut out about 10 o'clock, and that party's going to go right from Camp Randall. Now, one kid is going to be gone from that student section, and they're going to head right over to Wando's or State Street. It's going to be wild. It's going to be good stuff, and that's going to be a long ass flight home for the Buckeyes after they drop a game with the Badgers. Rematch, though, in the Big Ten championship game, if that happens. These two teams are going to play again. And I'm not going to predict what's going to happen there other than it's not going to be a game played in Madison at night. So we'll see what happens. But anyway, that's all I got. Hey, real quick, before we get off, thoughts on Locke, Braden Locke, Badgers quarterback. Just real quick here.
Yeah, really quick. Loved him. Here's the biggest thing with Locke. Forget everything else except for the fact, how did he react after he got his ass planted on the deck, right? He took that massive shot, the head-to-head shot, not malicious, but a massive shot. How did he react for the rest of the game? To me, like, the quarterback has to be able to react to things like that in a positive way. For a young quarterback to get off the deck, lead a game-winning drive, I've seen plenty of players fold in those moments. I think it's incredibly impressive, just the fortitude, the intangibles, the leadership, the toughness, every single thing that every great quarterback has between the ears. It's very early, but he checked the box in his one opportunity to check the box.
Right. That's good stuff. And here's I'm letting you inside the Dawn's Lair, one of my wine islands where I do my thinking, or in my hyperbaric chamber. When the Iowa game ended after the injury to Murkai and Locke, the last thing I was thinking about was Ohio State. And I can tell you, I wasn't in a Wisconsin's going to upset Ohio State in 2 weeks kind of mindset. And then just for some of the same reasons you just articulated with Locke last week. And yes, I understand. It's the Illini. It's not the Buckeyes. Different leagues, different levels, AAA majors. I get all that. But after that hit and down the deficit that they had when nothing was working, I learned. I said we are going to learn more about the Badgers in that game. You remember me saying that, and we did. And we learned a lot about that kid playing quarterback, and he's just so calm. And it's not just absorbing a hit or coming back and getting those scores to win the game or putting the ball, giving his receiver a chance to make a play in the end zone, like with Paulie. It's just between the ears stuff. We just I feel like when he goes out there, he believes he can do it. He's going to go out in that field against the Buckeyes the first time he runs out there after a kickoff. He's going to believe he can win that game. Whether he's right or wrong, we'll see. But they have a kid who believes he can do it, and that is a big first step for pulling a monumental upset. So that's where I am. I'm glad to hear that we're like minded, and I know you got the Phoenix Suns. I don't know how long you've had that problem, but you're a Phoenix Suns fan, and it's the opening night. The opening night, and I'm not sure they're going to pull another like 38-year-old veteran they can sign for too much money, or they're gonna stop with like Durant and Beal.
Durant, Beal, like we're fine. We have enough depth this year. There's no point guard, but that's okay. I've already told people put some money on it. Like let's line the bank accounts a little bit. I also said that about the Braves, but listen.
Yeah, it didn't work out so well. Yeah, those favorites did as well. I tell you what, let's fast forward and let's go ahead and do a Buck Suns round 2 in the championship this year. Let's do that. I think that'd be a lot of fun. I think the Bucks can be a lot of fun too with Dame Lillard up there and Giannis just re-upping. I mean, it's going to be. And they got rid of Grayson Allen. We can all stop pretending to root for Grayson Allen. This is a wonderful.
Sun savior Grayson Allen. Listen, I said this on my Discord, Scary. I am so starved for a Phoenix Suns finals. If he hits some key shots down the stretch, for me, this is only me. I guarantee you people are going to hate this take from me as a Wisconsin fan. I forgive everything. If he can help the Suns win a title, I'm sorry. Like, I know what he did to our Badgers in that title game. I need a Phoenix Suns title, bro. And if he can hit a couple key threes in a Western Conference Finals against maybe a Denver, Grayson's my boy. I'm on the Grayson train. Let's go.
Let me give you a hint. As a fan of the Bucks, who've had Grayson in the playoffs a few times, he's not going to do that. You don't have to worry about that. You don't have to worry about him coming up clutch in the playoffs. It's going to be all right, man. All right, Ryan. Well, thanks for jumping on, which will now be known as either the incredible show where Scary Alvarez predicted an improbable Wisconsin win over Ohio State, or the show everyone's going to come and shit on as the only dipshit who predicted Wisconsin would beat Ohio State. But hey, I feel how I feel, and I'm going to be a great, incredibly wealthy, incredibly popular man, no matter what happens on Saturday. But I'm feeling good about this.
Listen, I'll say this. Just on the way out too. I've had so many people tell me. I have a guy who comments on my show all the time. He hates my show, but whatever. But he kept saying, "Stop trying to sell hope to Badgers fans. They're not beating Ohio State." And listen, it's with Wisconsin. Let me just say this: Wisconsin upsetting Ohio State on the history, like the history graph of great upsets in college football, wouldn't even rank in the top 100. Like this would not be a monumental upset. People need to understand Wisconsin at home is tough. Wisconsin's a talented team with a really good coach. Ohio State is not the Ohio State that they've had offensively for several years, as your point is. This is not like Stanford beating USC at the beginning of the Harbaugh rebuild, or heck, Illinois and BYU beating Wisconsin were bigger point spreads than this one.
So it's 14 now? 14 and a half?
I think it's 14 and a half. Like that. Listen, do I think it's likely? No, I don't. But this would not be some shocking upset. So we can do this. Wisconsin can beat Ohio State. And there's a game script that doesn't involve ridiculous things happening that would allow that to happen. So be a fan, have hope. Like I'm all about it. I'm going to go there. I'm going to bet on Wisconsin because that's who I am, and I'm going to cheer my ass off if they do it. I'm all about it, even though I don't think they will. But that's
let's do this, and I'll catch you. I'll catch you on State Street afterwards. I'm gonna helicopter in to the roof, and they'll have my handlers take me down, and then I know you're thinking I'm going to buy you a couple rounds, but how I do it is I let you buy the first round.
Okay.
And then maybe I dip. But anyway, I hope to see you there, and let's get away from Wisconsin.
Let's go.